Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network, we're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone. So glad that you're here on the show with me today. I have a couple of amazing guests, and I cannot wait to get to them. But of course, I'd like to go through a little bit of the iNetrepreneur Network propaganda list, right? Oh my gosh. But I do want to say that the last couple of weeks have been wonderful in this crazy place called the Oven, which is Arizona. I mean, getting up in the morning with temperatures in the 60s and 70s puts a smile on this face, and that's why you see such a smiling face with me today. Plus, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. It has been a little bit tough time for me and my family, but my dad did get out of his surgery, and he's recovering. And so all the blessings that have come my way, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you for that. Each and every time everyone does that, it definitely, really brings a lot of strength for me as I take care of my dad as he gets through some of his heart ailment. So again, I really just want to say thank you to the Art of Connection and iNetrepreneur communities and those who listen to this radio show. So again, this is a part of gratefulness. I'm grateful for everyone. And I want to remind everyone that we are here each and every Thursday from, we're crazy Arizona, so it changes for everyone else, but we're always here from 2:30 to 3:30 each and every week. So I want to remind everyone that we are coming to the end of the long journey of the Art of Connection, award-winning best-selling series, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Gratitude Quotes. Volume 4 is almost sold out, but we do have a few pages left. You can go to www.365daysofgratitudequotes.com, and you can reserve your page there. Normally it's $500 retail, but our closeout rate is $149. Such a deal to get an award-winning book that, and one of my authors that's coming on, she knows what this is. This is a #1 international best-selling logo. And believe me, you only can get one of those on your book if you're #1 in your international best-selling categories, because if you put one on there and Amazon doesn't like it, they're going to shut you down for a year. So, don't put it on there. You make sure you are #1. Also, we love your likes. Oh my God, we love your likes. Go to Facebook, facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. And we love your likes at YouTube. Go to youtube.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. I know it's a lot to try to learn how to spell. I say take a picture, and then when you get it in your browser, bookmark it. And then you don't have to ever worry about, you will never have to worry about trying to remember it and get it into your browser again. Also, subscribe to our magazines. We have 2 wonderful magazines. We have the iNetrepreneur Network magazine. It's all about bringing entrepreneurs, getting them out there and showing them, putting themselves out there and showing them love through networking. Also, we have our Contemporary Woman, who I partner with my wonderful wife, Shawn Jones. We're bringing the wonderful thought and beauty and love of women business entrepreneurs all around the world in that magazine. Lastly, go to our chapter meetings, our academy classes, our pop-up events. They're all located at ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. And again, thank you so much for being here today. And now I am so ready to get to my first guest. And my first guest is the amazing, the incomparable, the wonderful Teresa Cundiff. How are you, Teresa?
I am fabulous. Thank you so much. We have matching books.
We do have matching books. Look at that, but it oh my gosh. Look at you and your bad self, just bringing out all the books.
That's right. We've got all the books, and I'm so thrilled to be part of the Art of Connection series. And I assume we were going to talk about it at some juncture, but since you pointed to your book, I wanted to point to my book. And I love it so much. It's it's just the greatest thing. And now to claim to fame of this book series is that it is also in the Library of Congress, which is quite an achievement because not every book that is published lands in the Library of Congress. So it is very remarkable and a huge deal to those of us who deal kind of in the book world. And I talk to authors and so forth. So I'm so thrilled to be part of this book series. And I thank you, Robert, for the inspiration that you had to start this whole thing. And yes, it was just going to be one book, so you thought, but God had other plans for you. That is clear to see. And you've touched so many lives. You've given so many people the opportunity to be first-time authors. It's just really thrilling.
Yeah, and you brought so many things up in that short period, Teresa, and I feel compelled to comment on a few of them.
Please do.
And you are so right. I mean, I remember, and everyone, I just want to make sure I'm with Teresa Cundiff, who's an 18 times, becoming a 19th time international best-selling author, TV host, proofreader. I mean, yes, they still exist, everyone. Proofreaders are needed now more than ever because guess what? AI doesn't get it always right. And she's owner and founder of Wordy Nerds Inc. You can contact her at teresa.cundiff@mac.com or call her at 540-538-5593. And you brought up a couple of things, Teresa, that it really bears mentioning. One, first-time authors. A lot of the current authors don't even know that we had 122 international best-selling authors who are also first-time authors in the first book. And it's amazing. And through the first 3 books, we have now had over 300 first-time authors in our book series. And so it's been an amazing journey. And I bring that up because sometimes people will ask me, well, it's just a page. And I tell them, yes, it's just a page. But the power in that page is more than you can imagine because it gives you something that 99.9% of the people in the world will never get, and that is the gift, that is the power of authorship.
Mhm.
The other thing that you said was, hey, there was only going to be one book, but now look at us, we're at book number 4, and that is certainly something that I never thought would happen again either, because as you know, the question always was, Robert, what was the hardest thing that you ever did in life? And it used to always be, getting through the United States Marine Corps boot camp. Well,
So you're going to liken publishing the first book to getting through Marine Corps boot camp? That's something.
yeah, well, but yeah, I know. But so here comes the first book, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Networking Quotes. And then all of a sudden that same question was asked and I thought about it. And I remember the first time I was on someone's show and I said, you know what? I used to say it was the United States Marine Corps boot camp, but I always said it was the first book, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Networking Quotes. But you know what? You were a believer. You were one of the believers that said, I didn't have, my idea was no more than this, journal. I love the journal. And here I am trying to sell a book, attempting to get 300 authors to come join me on this journey called authorship, so they can raise their influence, credibility, and exposure to the world as entrepreneurs. And you believed in me. And one of the things I can say about that is I darkened myself. It was like, kind of the moon getting in front of the sun there. But, but what's really crazy about it, Teresa, is you believed in me. And not only have you believed in me and the other authors in the book, you've believed in the series and you've been an avid supporter of this book series, now going into the 4th book, which I'm sure is going to, blow the first 3 books in this series away. What was the guiding post for you to say, I'm going to be in that book series? And then why continue when you have so many other opportunities that come across your table?
Oh, well, that is a great question. But to me, this particular book series is a priority. I never told you that before, but it absolutely is because it means so much to me because it really is thought provoking because in the book We offer a quote or a thought, and then we expound upon that thought more with more meat, if you will. And then we have a final question that we ask the reader. And hopefully that's thought provoking. And it's something that you can ponder over throughout the course of the day, assuming that you're reading it in the morning. And to me, and there's a fresh nugget that's available to the reader every single day. And to have a new book every single year that focuses on a different topic. So it was networking, and then it was inspirational, and then transformational, and now gratitude. I mean, who wouldn't want a book that's full of that kind of really powerful information that has real life application from so many different people from all kinds of walks of life, from different strata. I mean, all of it. It's absolutely an incredible project. And I'm super blessed to be part of it and to get to work with you and like spend time talking to you, having you on my show. It's really amazing. I love it.
Again, you bring up so many things that mean a lot to me, Teresa. And see, sometimes, and Mark Victor Hansen had told me once, sometimes the things, the unintended things can be the most special things. And I had no intentions of this book becoming what it is today. And he had a whole part of it coming to the second, the third, and the fourth book, and so on. And what's really crazy is, what it's doing for our youth. And so our book is being taught and being seen by high schoolers and college students across the country. And entrepreneurs and business owners, they ask me, they're like, what makes your book so special? And what it was is one of the students told me, he goes, Robert, Mr. Jones, Sir Robert, they always call me like, different names, they said it's like social media in a book. It's like social media in a book. And I went,
What a
I
great
never thought of it that way. And I asked the student, well, and so what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, the great thing about this book versus other books is I can read your page. I can read Len's page. I can read Teresa's page. I can read Sean's page and get so much information without having to read the whole book. And so I could go from page to page to page and pick up a lot of great nuggets and read 30 or 40 pages in doing so. And he's like, for students like us, this is how we consume our information. We don't have the stamina to sit there and read the books like that are behind you right there. But when we're able to consume it, in such a way and get so much information and get so many like gold nuggets out of it, it becomes something we do want to read. And we do want to talk about the different people that share their story on those pages. And Teresa, that is something I never would have imagined to begin with, that the consumption of the book. And here's the other thing. Authors go to me, it's like, well, then, that book's not for me. And you and I both know this. I'm like, no, this book matters more to you because those same kids 5 to 10 years from now may be your next client.
That's for sure. It's interesting the choice of words there, that they don't have the stamina to read a whole book. That's definitely, I think, a paradigm shift in our culture, I guess, with the generation coming up, because that floors me to hear that. I know they do consume their information and so forth in smaller bits because, they're on their phones or their tablets or whatever. But that's really kind of a crime against literature, that they don't read entire books, because there's so much great stuff out there. But it's nice to know that they are reading the Art of Connection books, which are chocked full with all kinds of great stuff.
Absolutely. And I think that's really what it about is. They want to get as much in as possible as fast as they can. And this is a way to do that. Now I remember, Teresa, when I was a kid, they called it Cliff's Notes though. See, so we had our own version back in the day. I mean, it still was, you still had to read a little bit, when you used Cliff Notes, but we certainly had them when I went to school when I was younger. But tell me this. You're nerdy words. You are a
Wordy
person.
nerds.
Wordy nerds, but you use nerdy words, wordy nerds.
Word.
But let me ask you this: you've had a passion for writing for such a long time, and what caused you to start this journey on literature as being a part or a fabric of your being?
Well, I had a knack for it, which might sound like an interesting way to characterize it. Because how does one have a knack for English? I guess because we teach it for 12 years in school, and
Hmm.
still people can't properly punctuate their sentences. So my tagline with my proofreading business is, "I know where the commas go," because there
Ah,
are rules about where the commas go in the sentences. But English just came naturally to me. Uh, this is going to make me sound super geeky, but in the seventh grade, the first time I ever learned how to like diagram a sentence, I was like, this is amazing. And so I've always just been interested in it. It came very easily to me. And I was not an English major because I didn't want to read all of that literature that was boring to me. I didn't want to read that,
yeah.
but I was all about like the grammar and the sentence structure and the punctuation and those types of things. And so I just was it was came easy to me. English and math were like my two strong suits, and
Yeah.
so those were the things that just and so I guess you like the things that come more easily to you. I'm also a singer, so I've been on stage for forever, and that's I pursue that as well. So I have a few irons and a few fires.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And what I love about in the way that you approach words is you are a technician. You're almost a mathematician on the way that you structure the way that thoughts come out of people's minds. And I think you have to be part psychologist, maybe even psychiatrist. Here, take an Advil, after you say, oh, okay, mark with the red pen or whatever. But that also comes naturally with you. But when people see their ideas and they come out with a certain amount of flow, they have to just give you a high five and thank you, don't they?
They do. They actually do. And some folks have sent me some stuff that's been proofread by someone else. And I was like, have you kind of look at this? Because this, there's some stuff that's not right in here.
Hmm.
And they're like, oh my goodness, oh, would you look at that for us? And I'm like, I would be very happy to. And so I would like to think that I've helped some people avoid having, egg on their face, if that would be a proper thing to use for books, of
Hmm.
for putting a book out there that's improperly punctuated, because it's a direct reflection on the author, because ultimately it is the author's responsibility, the product that goes out to the reader. But I also would like to add something too about my own story with regard to English. I used to be very easily embarrassed about language and like not knowing things I was supposed to know and stuff like that. So if I ever heard a word on television that I didn't know, I would immediately go to the dictionary and look it up. I would look it up phonetically. I would figure it out until I found
Yeah.
it. I would learn how to spell it and I would learn what it meant. And that was really how I built my vocabulary from about middle school on.
Well, and what I found that's so amazing about vocabulary, I love studying the origins of words. I love how words and language and communication actually adds to the fabric of a culture, of a community or a country. And many of these things, sometimes they don't translate, from culture to culture,
Oh yeah.
country to country, and they don't. And proofreading really is I think more important now than ever, because information is so easily transferred around the world. And quite frankly, if you're not modeling an idea correctly and then it gets translated, how much further from the origination of that idea will it be when it's read?
There's no telling. And English is really poor as a
Hmm.
language with regard to, how many English words it takes to translate a single word from another language. So English is, kind of poor when it comes to that sort of thing, I think.
Yeah, I I want to come back and talk about you're going to become a 19 times best-selling author, and one of the people I always think in life is Ken Blanchard. And Ken Blanchard, we all know him from like the 1 Minute Manager. That's where we know him. That's where he came out. And Ken Blanchard, he had co-wrote 65 best-selling books, and a lot of people don't know that Ken Blanchard actually, of 63 of the 65 books, I think it was, he didn't actually write any of the book. What he was actually did is he actually looked for good partners, and he helped promote the book through his reputation from his best-selling books. And I want to say this. I tell people, Teresa, I say there's really three types of authors that are out there. There's the first-time author, there's the authorpreneur, and then there's the entrepreneur author. And each one is very different from each other. With the authorpreneur, they're really making a living, off of books and royalties and book sales, and they're kind of beholden to
You're
the
Stephen King,
company.
you're John Grisham, your Dean
Yeah.
Koontz, those kinds of folks.
Yeah. And then there's everyone else. And I think that this is where entrepreneurs sometimes get confused, is there's the entrepreneur author. I like to call them entrepreneur authors. And so
Try to spell that.
yes, try to spell that. Now I do have the domain name, so I made my mark on creating that word, but the entrepreneur author. And so, so with that is because entrepreneurs have a whole different, mindset when it comes to, utilizing authorship. And that really isn't to necessarily be the world's best-selling book author. It really is just to add to credibility of, what they offer, where they make their money. Well, it could be coaching, it could be, marketing, it could be interior design, etc. But it's becoming, so blurred between like what authorship is and what the needs are, and then, like I said, what authors need. Do you see that as well? Do you see that there is a little bit of difference between authorpreneurs and entrepreneur authors?
I would agree for sure, because if writing a book, to me, especially if you're writing like in the self-improvement field, you're writing and establishing yourself as an expert, say like in relationships or in finance or any of those, kinds of fields. So you're an expert, and you can use your book like as a calling card. To maybe get on stages to speak, for example. You're on stage and you brought a book and you give everybody a free book. So those kinds of things. And so that's how I see the entrepreneur author.
Yeah, I always say it's like much more impressive holding up a book in a Zoom than a business card. So, get a book. It looks a lot better.
Well,
or 3 books.
Yeah. So here's another one of my books I brought. It's free on my Linktree because it's a great book. And in the book, everyone in there, it's called The Book I Read. The Book I Read, everybody in there writes about a book that they read, not a book that they wrote, and that they were recommending to the readers. So this book recommends 50 books to people. So it's kind of like 50 book reviews. So it's another like great book idea. So there's all kinds of things that books can be written about. And just to let everyone know, the books that I have been blessed to be a part of are all collaboration books. And those are definitely all the rage now, because then you just write a chapter. You're not writing an entire book, which you can get writer's block. You can get, I guess that would be the equivalent to stage fright for an actor. I'm not sure. But, you write a chapter that contributes to a book, the theme of a book. And it's the super easiest, best way to have 19 #1 best-selling books.
Well, but here's the other thing. It's also, you're not going it alone. You actually get to have a team of other writers, that go with you. And I think that that's the beauty of it, because it's not just, we don't live in silos as authors. We actually get to learn who the other authors that are in the book that are with us. And many times great relationships come from that as well, don't they?
Yes, they absolutely do. And I was going to add that it's so fun, because then if there's like a launch party or
Mhm.
any of those things, in every one of the books, you have the contact information of every author that's in there, because generally at the end of the chapter, you put your bio in there with your photo and all of that stuff. So it's really a super great way to network and just
Absolutely.
get to know
Well,
other people.
and speaking of network, Entrepreneur Magazine, I believe Inc. and oh gosh, the other magazine, Forbes, they actually talk about large scale collaborative books as actually becoming the networking groups of the future.
Mm.
And one of the biggest reasons why, uh, Art of Connection, everyone, plug. Um, the best thing about the Art of Connection is you have 1,000 people, then we're all tethered. We're all tethered in the heart, the heart-centered, like-minded space. We're all entrepreneurs, and I say in a community like that, we all try to outgive each other. I mean, what better community is that? You're all trying to outgive each other. It's amazing
So
and place
it's
to be,
fantastic.
and I've learned so much. And being a part of this book series has helped me do other things. And similar to you, but being a proofreader and being in all these books, you created a whole new forum. You actually have a TV show where you bring authors onto your television show so they can share their stories. Tell us a little bit about your TV show and how that came about.
Well, it came about because I didn't know how one could spin being a proofreader into a television show. But our mutual friend, Donna Metter,
Hmm.
is like, "Oh, you're so wonderful and you're so beautiful. You need to have a television show." And so I joined her in at a network where she was beginning her show, and that's how Teresa Talks was born. It's been to a couple different networks now. It's now on Everyday Woman TV.
Hmm.
But I love having authors on because I am an avid reader, and I do read every book from cover to cover, which is
Wow.
a little bit of a claim to fame, because as I interview more authors and learn from them that they go on to interview shows, to find out that the host hasn't read their whole book. So that is my pledge. I read every book from cover to cover, and it really allows me to have a very intimate conversation with the author about the book. And they get the whole hour of the show. And then at the end of every show, I have what I call the lightning quiz. And I just ask them 20 quick questions about their life, where they like to vacation, what foods they eat. I mean, just all kinds of crazy things. Are they afraid of heights? Just to keep it light, just in the event
Right.
that the interview ended up being something that was heavy. But I've loved doing it. It lights me up. I have yet to write my own book. That's my solo book. That says by Teresa Cundiff. But I will do it one of these days. And so that's why I love talking to authors who have done it, because I aspire very much to do it. And each one of them inspires me.
So I'm assuming then, Teresa, that's kind of like next on your agenda is looking for that idea of what is it that I'm going to write? What is it that I'm going to put out there and have my name standing alone?
I know.
With the other 19 books that you're going to have on your Amazon, you know,
Yeah.
profile. And that's the other thing I really want to tell everyone that's watching us now. Don't be afraid of collaborative books. Don't think that it's only solo books that's going to get you somewhere. Mark Victor Hansen told me, he said, you, Robert, you run networking groups. It's like, what would happen if someone comes to a networking group and they don't show up again for in 3 years? It's like, they're not going to get any business. The worst mistake that authors can do is think that their book should be the only one. And you know it's so true, because part of us, especially as entrepreneurs, we have an obligation, if we really love what we do and we're using our gifts to save other people. And one of the ways to do that is to, in publication and in authorship, it's a way for us to connect. And the other thing, and you're too damn modest, I'm gonna say it, you're too damn modest, because one thing I know about you in proofreading is, you know when you read, especially when you read these authors' books and you bring them onto your show, you read at two levels. One level is, okay, there's the constructive, functional part of the book, right? That's what we're going to get away through knowledge. But see, the thing is you're savvy enough, you're able to actually pick up the personality of the author through how they write. And see, and see, that's one of the things that happens when you start to become an avid reader, right? You start to actually understand just how human beings operate and work. And that's what makes you so great at what you do, Teresa. So I am not surprised that you have a wonderful radio show on the Women's Network. And I am not surprised that you are the success that you are right now. Everyone, I want to make sure that you know, I'm going to put it across the screen here. I am with Teresa Cundiff. She's an 18-time, going on 19, international best-selling author, TV host, proofreader, and owner and founder of Wordy Nerds Media. You can contact her at Teresa with no H, teresa.cundiff at mac.com, or call her at 540-538-5593. You know, and are there any other ways that we can find you, Teresa?
Well, of course, you can find me on Facebook, Teresa Cundiff. You can also find me on Instagram, Teresa Cundiff, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Teresa Cundiff.
Well, I love having you on here, Teresa. It's been too long since the last time I've had you on the show. Let's do this again, and let's have more fun.
Please. Agreed. Let's do.
Make it a great week. And you know what? Hey, Oktoberfest is coming up. I hope you're doing something fun for then too, because this is like my favorite time of year.
Well, I'm coming to Phoenix on Monday, so it'd be cool if we could, like, have dinner one night or something. So
I love that idea. So let's make it a plan. Everyone, Teresa Cundiff, she is a rock star. Thank you so much for being on today, Teresa.
Thanks for having me on, Robert. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you. Oh my goodness, what a great interview of Teresa Cundiff. She is a rock star, and she came on the iEntrepreneur Network radio show today. Thank you again, and for being such an avid supporter of the Art of Connection book series. Next, my good friend is coming onto the show today. His name is Mr. Len DeCarmine. And, Len, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're here. How are you doing?
Hey, Robert, I'm excited to be here as well. I mean, that last interview you did was absolutely phenomenal. Teresa is just a beautiful, brilliant woman, and it's an honor just to follow up after her and to be on the show with you.
Well, you know what? No, our honor is to be on the show with you. Come on now, Len. You're like Teresa. You guys are way too modest for your own good. Your value just is in the stratosphere. We're going to get you there. I'm going to put some balloons, on your shoulders, and you just keep rising. Everyone, I am with Len DeCarmine. He's a success coach, best-selling author, podcaster, and owner and founder of the Mindful Man Method. You can reach him. I was teasing him actually in the green room before the show. I said, it's like Shelley sells seashells at the seashore. And so Len had to come out and say, I'm the guy who is the founder of the Mindful Man Method. You can reach him at len@mindfulmanmethod.com or call him at 814-280-5839. See, so I said it good, right? I did okay?
You did great. Great job.
Right. Len, you and I have known each other for quite a while, and one of the things that we both have passions for is we really have passions, you and I, about increasing, I'm going to say, the heart rate of men. It seems like the last few years, men have started to feeling like they don't really have a place to go. They don't have really a place to show up. Many
Mhm.
men, have become chronically depressed. They've acquired bad eating habits. They lose relationships and friendships as they've grown older. Um, they don't have resources that they can reach out and immerse themselves with. And I've been noticing this for a long time, and you have too. And you and I both share the passion of, creating a place where men can go so they can grow again, and they can find a place where, life has meaning and relationships, provide even more meaning. And so, one of the things that you started was the mindful man method. Tell me a little bit about the mindful man method, and why should it matter to men right now?
Yeah, Robert, that's great. I appreciate your question. Uh, you are right. Men are lost right now. There's a lot of changes in the world of trying to find their place in this uh, evolving changes that are happening, and a lot of men are struggling to find clarity in their life, to be able to lead effectively, really, really own into their leadership, and to build healthy connections with their partner. And the reason for that is that men haven't had the opportunity to really deal with their childhood trauma, to really deal with their issues. We're always told to, oh, don't worry about it, or men don't talk about those things. But we're coming into a new era now that men need to start learning how to really understand their inner child, understand their trauma, be able to talk effectively and openly about it, to be vulnerable. And, and a lot of men don't have that. You really have to go out and seek groups like that. And even when you do, there's always that stigma around it of some sort. Oh, I don't want to share my feelings. It's not, you know, manly enough, things of that, whatever people think. So what I have done is I created the mindful man method, which is a 3-step process to help men to learn how to find their purpose, to learn how to embody leadership, and to gain greater connection with their partner so that they can learn how to become grounded, integrated men, to hold a better space for other men and to be able to lead people to where they need to go in life. So
And
the mindful man method is really helping men learn to embody.
and you
Go
really
ahead.
go, Len, you really had to go through quite a journey here recently. And I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to put it out there. In certain ways, you're known as the nice guy. You're known as doing so much for other people, but you had to confront some ghosts in the past, and and there
Yeah.
was a lot of growth, there was a lot of heartbreak, there was a lot of unknowns that you had to take care of, and you had a journey to Ohio because your dad had passed away, and it was kind of a sour relationship.
Mhm.
And I say this a lot. You know, all of us men can learn from that. More men have sour relationships with their fathers than great relationships with their fathers. And you learned a few things in the process.
Mhm.
Tell me about some of the things that you learned in the journey going to Ohio and back. And how do you apply that with the men that you work with today?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Robert. Whew. I mean, that's heavy. My father passed away unexpectedly. I had to give up what I had currently in Arizona to and rearrange my life a bit to live in Ohio for 4 months to deal with my father's estate. And my father and I at the time weren't very close. We still had a bit of a rocky relationship, but we worked on it. It was a challenge.
Yeah.
But being there and dealing with this on my own was a struggle. And I was really lost during that time. And I was lost in the fact that I lost my father, and I feel like I still didn't have that complete closure with him, that complete healing. And going through his home, sorting through things, I started to get to really know the man on a deeper level. than I ever had speaking to him, because I saw so many similarities between him and myself going through that process, that I'm like, wow, my dad and I are a lot alike. Even though we were never really that close, we had a lot of the same habits and the same likes and same interests that I didn't realize that we had, because we never really talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a person that was always stuck in the past. He's always wanted to go back to the past to put his family together and have, restore things with my mother. Even up to the day he passed away, and that he was 69 years old, he still dealt with that, and he still never let that go. And that experience really made me reflect on my own life and where I am and where I am with my relationship with people in my life. And it made me transform myself to have a greater purpose, and letting myself be more open to change and stepping outside my comfort zone. Because if it wasn't for my father's passing, I would never have gotten my own book done, which really inspired me. And the whole entire book that I wrote transformed based upon that experience, which even though it was very hard, it was still a very beautiful experience at the same time.
Well, and that's what I love to hear, because, being someone who didn't run away from it, you ran towards it, you took care of what needed to take, and then there was a heck of a lot of growth from that, Len. And that's really what I want people to see is, a lot of men, we're turning into ostriches. I heard someone say, they're turning women into warriors and men into worriers. And I don't think that's the way that necessarily that men are built. Men, there should be a certain amount of masculinity in the man, and it's getting a bad rap, because if you say the word masculinity, well, that's toxic, and so men have to be this nice guy. But I think masculinity isn't something that's like, oh, every man has to be a nice guy, and oh, every man is toxic if they're masculine. I think what masculine means is that they're built of great character, and they do the things that need to be done even if they don't want to do it. They have the fortitude to do those things. And I think that's what you've proven to other men, Len, and you've proven that to yourself. Would you agree that men actually should be embracing masculinity, or is there something else that we should be embracing right now in this current time frame?
Well, first of all, I want to address that there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's only toxic people. Okay. Women can be toxic and men can be toxic. We've seen that. I've been in relationships, so we can't, so really to say that is not healthy to stigmatize or identify men as toxic masculinity. That was actually a term that was developed with psychologists who were doing a study on prisoners in prison at one point. And then it became pop psychology, and they start using it, and now it's used everywhere to make men the evildoers, so to speak, by using toxic masculinity.
So this truly was created as an outlier study, and they're taking what was created in this outlier study, and they were putting the same inferences on the general population of men. So it actually was never meant to be utilized so broadly. Then that's what you're saying?
It was utilized for a different study, and it was a study among men in prison and how they responded to each other and the things that happened. Okay, and then a psychologist just created that term toxic masculinity because it was between men and their masculinity. Now that word has been brought into the mainstream to be utilized everywhere. There's just toxic people. And men are getting a bad rap about this. Men are born to take the role of leadership. We were, not all of us were born leaders. Leaders are created, but our purpose is to lead. That's what masculinity is about, is to lead. And men should be embracing that, embracing the beauty of masculinity and also embracing the beauty of femininity. We both have those. Those are both within all of us. There is no one or the other. We all, as men and as women, we both have masculinity energy and femininity energy. Some of us just lean more towards the other than the other. That's it. For example, if a woman is at the gym, she is using masculine energy. Okay. If a man is in the kitchen, cooking, he's using more feminine energy. We play this dance constantly every single day based upon how we need to interact with somebody in that regards. But we shouldn't be embracing both and learning how to develop them so that we can just become a better person in general.
Yeah, I like to bring a quote that my mom said all the time to me, and she always said, she said, Robert, I'll tell you what's wrong with everything. And I'm like, all right, Mom, really? You're going to tell me what's wrong with everything? She said, yeah. She said, you're going to learn in life. It's not a man thing. It's not a woman thing. She said, it's a person thing. And the sooner that we all understand that, the sooner that we all understand that, the sooner we can all move forward with velocity. And I'll never forget that. And I think that's what happens sometimes is we tend to so often just stereotype all women are this and all men are that and all Christians are this way and all it's and I think that each and every time we do that, we're doomed to failure, because there is no group that is all the same. We're a unique set of individuals. Sure, can we market to a segment? Absolutely. Do certain age groups maybe have certain preferences? Absolutely. But I think that in this day and age, it seems like there's a little bit of a psychological battle going on towards men. And what I believe that you're doing is you're taking men from going like, I don't have a place anymore, to say, no, you're welcome in this place. You're welcome to share your voice. You're welcome to move on from your pain, and we're going to provide you help through relationships to give your life fulfillment again. And if a fulfilled man is a man who's going to be a great son, a great husband, a great father, a great business leader, a great person in community. And I think if we start seeing men change that way, our communities are all going to start operating a little bit more lovingly and effectively. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, the more that we can support each other, both men and women, the better our communities can be, the better our families can be, the better our relationships can be. But we've been, society and the media has put us to some level at war with each other, when it doesn't need to be that way. We can work together and collaborate and be able to have a healthy relationship between the two and be able to understand each other on a more effective level. And that's something that I teach. I teach men how to be more effective communicators, how to understand, how to listen, because your partner, is giving you clues. But sometimes as men, we're kind of dense. We don't always hear these things.
Yeah.
So what you're laughing. You've been there.
Oh, so, I know. Absolutely.
Well, because that's just how we are. We're just focused-minded individuals, just as how men are, where women are not. They see the bigger picture, where we're just laser focused on certain things. And I help men understand more about them, because that's what it really is. If you can't understand who you are and why you have those habits and those traits, and not understanding your values or your belief systems, you're not going to be an effective person in your community or in your relationship.
Yeah.
So I help men dive deep into these things. I just came back from a 4-day retreat, a men's retreat, and it was mind-blowing what I went through and what I learned to really connect and release a lot of the trauma, the grief, the shame that holds me back, and also dictates some of the decisions I make. If I really released a lot of that, I probably wouldn't have made some of the decisions I've made in the past. But now that I have learned to release some of that shame, and some of that fear, I can be clear now on making better choices in my life without regret, without being insecure with myself, without fearing. And that's what I help men do. I help men, have that uncomfortable conversation with their partner, with their father, with their mother, to be able to be more effective communication, to be more heart-centered. And that's something you and I have talked about. I've heard you years talking about being more heart-centered. And that's something that men lack. So I help them understand that and really hone in on. I really challenge them to get into that, to offer more presence and more depth in their life.
And the word that comes to my mind is just, being in the place where we have permission. And so much of the time it seems
Yeah.
like we don't have permission, and we start believing what's out there, and we start putting self-imposed boundaries on us. It's somewhat epidemic. If you look at education, there are far less men going to college than are women now. If you're looking at family, there's still more men that are leaving and not taking responsibility for their kids, even though there's a few dads who are stepping up. The numbers say different. When it comes to entrepreneurship, another place that takes a lot of that strength, that warrior attitude. Men have lost when it comes, demographically speaking, on opening and running businesses. So things have changed, but I think you hit the nail on the head. How do you solve that? You train men to create better relationships, and those relationships really actually start with the self. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. Because if you're not aligned with your values and your beliefs, you're not any good for yourself. And we
Well,
all have limiting beliefs that we've picked up over
right.
the years, and they
I
may
want to
not even
jump
be
in, Len.
true.
Because it's like, it's not just that. It's just you know limiting beliefs, yes, but sometimes you go so far off course. It takes other people to believe in you to kind of restart your belief in yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah. You even though men fight
Hmm.
wanting to work with other men, it is the most healthiest therapeutic thing that you can do, is be surrounded by other like-minded men to support you in your grief, in your shame, in your fears, and then not only to support you there, but also then now to level you up to a whole new level. As guys, we're used to tearing each other down, wrestling, things of that nature, and that's good to a point, but it does affect your ego. It does affect your self-esteem. So working with other men, is a whole new life-changing event that can really help and open you up to a whole new level. It moves you beyond society's bounds and identities that we are being given. It takes you to a whole new level of embodiment and enlightenment. And that's why I love doing this work.
Yeah, I agree. One of the questions I wanted to ask is, in the last 2 years, since you've made the transition to really start saying, what, my target audience is going to be men, and I'm going to work with men, and I'm going to be there for them, and actually create a living off of coaching men. you know they always say, many times, men are your students and you're the teacher. Len, as the teacher, how much have you learned in the last 2 years about yourself, from coaching men?
Sure. So I want to, you broke up a little bit, Robert. What was your question? I want to make sure I was clear on that.
Well, one of the things is, in the last couple of years, you've made a transition from generalized coaching to really concentrating on coaching men, and having men
Correct.
as your target audience, that that's where you want to, your target market. That's where you want to create your space. That's where you want to, provide the most help. That's where your gifts are. But in the same way, as you've helped men over the last 2 years, there's a saying that says, as much as you've helped your students, the teacher gets helped as well. What are some of the things that
Mhm.
you've learned about yourself that you could share, that have helped you grown over the last couple of years?
Oh, that's a great. I like that question. Thank you, Rob. Yeah, I mean, even though I am a men's coach, I also have a coach as well. And I think everybody in life should have a coach. And through that training, I've learned to embrace who I am, because that's been hard, embracing who I am and accepting me for myself and really giving myself the self-love that I need and the gratitude and the patience necessary to be okay with the mistakes I've made, to not be living in my past like my father did, as being stuck there, but giving
Yeah.
myself true forgiveness for the things that I've done and forgiving others as well for them, because they're only working with what they know and they may not know how to manage their emotions. They may not know how to overcome their shame and trauma. So just being patient with other people. And this whole journey I've been on has been very powerful, especially releasing, my shame and being able to be in touch with my inner child and letting him know everything is going to be okay. And I've gone through that journey, and it was very powerful and very emotional, but it was for the best thing for me, so that I can be 100% with you, with my clients, being, because I believe that if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And anything that I coach upon, I've been through. I've been through divorce. I've been through separation. I've had a rocky relationship with my children. I've walked in and any man that comes to me, I've walked in your shoes in one way or another. And I've done the work for me because I wanted to become a better man and a better person and a better contributor to society and the community.
Yeah. And so 2 years, lots of change. But, right now, this day forward, what does the future look like for Len DeCarmine?
Oh, it looks beautiful. There are so many opportunities I see at this point for growth in so many different areas. I'm at this time I'm starting a brand new podcast show. I'm thinking about new book opportunities. I'm building greater relationships and connections with people. I'm looking at getting my message out to more men, wherever, either locally or worldwide, internationally, however that sees fit, because I want to be able to help as many men as I possibly can, so that they don't have to go through what I went through, so that if they see that issue, they can get it resolved now. So that's my goal. I want to transform as many people's lives as I possibly can, and that's my gift to the world.
Wow, I love that, Len. Everyone, I'm with Len DeCarmine. He is a success coach, international best-selling author, podcaster, going to come out with a new podcast, it sounds like. And he is the owner and founder of the Mindful Man Method. Len at mindfulmanmethod.com. That's Len at mindfulmanmethod.com. That's a way to get a hold of him. Or he's one of those brave guys out there. He put his telephone number on this show. You can also reach him at 814-280-5839. Len, I appreciate you being on the show here today. Are there any other ways that people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, real simple. My website, just like my email address, is mindfulmanmethod.com. And I go by that name on everything, for social media to Facebook and so forth. So check out my website. I have some great information on there about men empowerment, some great blog articles, ways to connect with me, a webinar that you can watch. I got some free training on there as well. So check out the mindfulmanmethod.com.
All right, Len, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you. And like with Teresa, I mean, we just got to do this again. There's too much good stuff to go over there, isn't there?
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm open. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much, Len. Again, that was Len DeCarmine. In the first interview was Teresa Cundiff with Wordy Nerds Inc. And I want to remind everyone, we are here each and every Thursday. unless there's an event or something else going on, a kids soccer tournament. I don't know. Could happen. But we are here each Thursday, Arizona time from 2:30 to 3:30 each and every week. I know we all have places to go and things to do, but you took this time and space to do it with us, and I want to say thank you for that. Everyone have a great week. My name is Robert Jones with the iEntrepreneur Network. Thank you.
You've been watching the iEntrepreneur Show, a production of the iEntrepreneur Radio Network with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.